Hello, lovely. Welcome to the Find a Lovely Life podcast, a safe place for all self love journeys. I'm your host, Monica Rodriguez, and for the past 9 years, I've been on my own self love journey. Healing can be really lonely, especially when you don't know where to start. So let's figure things out together. If you're looking for inspirational stories, conversations with some lovely souls, and a little life advice, I think you found the right place. Or maybe it found you. Let's try our best and find a lovely life together. I'll share some of my lovely life lessons along the way. Don't worry, you're safe here. Hello, lovely. After I recorded the first episode, I was like, I want to do more. I want to do more with this. I've been doing this self love journey for like 8, 9 years now, and I have a lot of tools that I use. And every time I'm like talking to my friends about some of the things that I do, it's almost like I give these many TED Talks about like self love. And so I want to try this like new segment on self love tools and what I sort of like within the last 9 years have sort of collected and used to really kind of dive into having different blueprints for me in my self-love journey so that maybe something will click, something will resonate, and then you might use this as a tool to help excavate a little bit further in your own self-love journey. So these are kind of like little teaching, welcome to class, welcome to self-love class, a self-love tool episode. And yeah, that's kind of what I think I want these kind of sessions to be. So let's dive into it. I want to talk about Mercury Retrograde. What is it? Oh my God. Part of my self-love journey, some of the tools that I have used to kind of help me for self-awareness, to dive deeper, one of them has been astrology and diving into my birth chart. And I'm just like really into anything that will show me more about myself so that I can help myself understand myself. I want to learn all about it so that I have more tools to help me on the self-love journey. And so astrology has been something that I kind of started dipping into in the pandemic, really diving deeper past sort of like your big three, which are your sun, moon, and rising, which a lot of people will reference. I started reading this book, You Were Born for This by Chani Nicholas, and I'll put the link in the description. And that kind of gives you a very sort of like starting point on what a birth chart is, like what sort of regions and like of houses on the chart. And it just like dives deeper into like really just your big three, your sun, your moon, and rising. And so when things are moving in the sky, I can usually kind of like feel something happening. I didn't know back then what it was, but the more that I kind of like dove into it, learned more about it, I was able to kind of like pinpoint a little bit and really start kind of working with it. And so one of the things that I recommend as a potential self-love tool is learning about what Mercury Retrograde is and using it to really dive into an opportunity to learn about yourself. And I developed a sort of like 3 to 4 level tier of how to kind of dive in, especially if you don't even know where to start, if this sort of thing kind of like freaks you out, or if you don't even know what your sun, moon, rising, you don't any of this. This episode is for someone that is interested in working with retrograde, has maybe been afraid of it in the past and not really sure where to kind of like start or why everybody makes a big deal out of it. So I want to talk about what it is, break it down, and then kind of give you a little bit of like different levels that you can use to approach it in a very understandable, beginner-friendly, approachable way. I'm not going to dive too much into where to get your birth chart, but I'll put like some reference links in the description for that, so you can do like a deeper dive. This is more so, what is Mercury retrograde? How can I use it in my self-love journey as a tool, as a blueprint to help me love myself more, know myself more? And I talk about it all the time. Self-love is more than just like self-care. It's really about a healing journey. And so like, what are some things that can be triggered or can come up during this sort of like time that I can excavate, take notes, and figure out who needs a little bit more TLC, which part of me is kind of like being amplified. So Mercury is a planet. It is the planet of communication. It is the planet of Gemini. So it's like an air sign planet. And the reason why people are always like, oh my God, technology and like your ex is going to text you back and all of that stuff is because it all has to do with communication, with travel, with like travel plans getting delayed, that sort of thing. It's not this like ghost boogeyman that's like out to get you in those like areas of your life. It's more that the planet represents something and it represents these areas of life. And so when it's amplified in a planetary movement, those areas of your life get amplified as well in different ways. And so when it's in retrograde, it's almost kind of like it's taking it's going backwards. It's almost like if you were on a train and you're moving forward, and then sometimes the train, when you get on the track, it actually moves backwards. Retrograde just means it's moving backwards. So it's giving you a time to renew, rewind, rebirth, possibly. Anything that has to do with kind of like, let's take it back. Let's rewind the tape and see if this is still what you want. Mostly about like, if this is still what you want, but also like, how do you react to things that happen? What is the choice that you make? Because everything's connected. I've been studying astrology for about 6 years now. I've been reading tarot cards for about 7 years now. Every zodiac and planet have like a corresponding card. And for me, Mercury is Gemini. And so Gemini, I think the Lovers, which is a major arcana card. I'll go in deeper. I'm just giving you like very surface level stuff here. So a major arcana card in the tarot is sort of like a overarching universe type of external energy. It's got this things out of my control. It happens outside of your personal inner choice, which is the minor arcana, which is divided into 4. I'm going way deeper than I planned to, but it's for a reason, which is divided into 4 elements. So again, everything is connected. Air, which is swords, water, which is cups, earth, which is pentacles, and fire, which is wands. And so when Mercury, the planet of communication, the planet of travel, is in retrograde, it's almost like the movie Tenet. You're moving backwards, and sometimes like when you're moving backwards, it can kind of, it takes you a second to figure out how to walk backwards in those specific kind of like themes. But then in the other levels and areas that I'll kind of get into, just roll with me here. It starts like applying other layers of energy that you can help kind of use as blueprints in your self-love journey as well. And Mercury retrograde is not anything to fear. It happens 4 times a year. Like the planet goes backwards in its train track 4 times a year. So I kind of like to look at it as like spring cleaning. You have 4 times a year to kind of like really like think about, who do I want to unfollow? Because the communication falls under social media. What does my feed look like? Am I happy with what it is? Is it bringing my mental space peace? Am I stressed out when I'm online? A lot of times you'll hear people say like, clean up your files. Like, when was the last time that you cleaned out your photos on your phone or you backed up your computer? It's just, I like to use it as a tool of, oh, it's that time of year again, for me to just kind of like cross-check what I'm feeding my mind, because it's air, mind, Gemini, swords, energy, Mercury. We're talking about an air planet of communication. And so what other ways can I clear the mental fog is sort of how I approach Mercury retrograde, and why I really love working with it in a self-love sort of journey because it opens and amplifies opportunity for growth in different areas of life, specifically in this one. Anything that has to do with your mental space, with how you communicate, possibly with travel plans, that sort of thing. And how we communicate is with our phones, which we're constantly on, right? Most of our work sometimes is like involved in the computer. And so when I talk about like cleaning out these things, it's because it's sort of this digital space that we use to communicate currently in the way that we operate. And if you're kind of like, oh, why is like my Zoom crashing? Or like, why are my travel plans being canceled? Or like, there's just so much like things that are keep happening that you're like, why is this happening? Anytime something like that happens, it's just the universe or you trying to kind of get your attention to be like, hey, we should clean house. Hey, we should go within for a second and like cross-check inventory. We should clean our mental space. And I think when things like that start triggering people, it can often be like Mercury retrograde just needs to like be over already. But I want to invite you to kind of have it be an opportunity to be like, oh, my Zoom just crashed. Interesting. Not why did my Zoom crash, but like, how am I reacting to it? It's like almost a moment of pause. I used to be really impatient and arrogant when things weren't working in technology because I work so quickly and I need things to work at my pace. But sometimes it gives me an opportunity to be like, oh, right, let me chill out for a second. Let my computer do what it needs to do. Let it like, I've had a lot of computer issues during Mercury retrograde sometimes when I'm working super fast and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's right. I just need to like slow down a second. And I promise you, if you like lean more into it, it will kind of alleviate itself. It's almost like a tense muscle. The more that you like don't kind of like massage it, the more tense it's going to be when you bend down and pick things up on your back. So in the nature of this being also like episode 13, 13 is the death card in tarot, which it's never actually death. It's more rebirth. And so I wanted to kind of give this an opportunity to reshape your relationship with Mercury retrograde if you hate it, and introduce it if you've never really worked with it as a rebirth opportunity. How can I become a new version of myself, heal a past version of myself, take inventory of what no longer serves me so that I can move forward in my self-love journey? Because anytime you kind of do any of those things, that is positive, proactive action towards your self-love journey, towards healing yourself, towards becoming the version of you that you see yourself being in a month, a year, 5 years, whatever. And it also gives you an opportunity to kind of like see who's being triggered. I talk a lot about healing past versions of yourself, and something that Mercury retrograde has always helped me with is to figure out who's being triggered. So if you're on a self-love journey and you can't really quite pinpoint certain past versions of yourself that are calling out for attention, sometimes I like to use Mercury retrograde as an opportunity to see who's really getting triggered. So it might not necessarily be like a certain age this traumatic event happened. It could be this sort of like archetype. What I've been working on in therapy right now is sort of what are the kind of archetypes, not just past versions of me that get triggered. So it might be as easy as kind of like if you can't quite pinpoint who it is and what age it is that you might have been triggered, having this archetype. And it could be like a character from a movie that you relate to. Sometimes I use Inside Out as like a reference point in terms of like, oh, this is like anxiety. She's just trying to protect me because she loves me in that way. And sometimes you don't really see it that way until you kind of start pulling back layers, which is what Mercury retrograde, I think, is really about, is figuring out, oh, this person's kind of spiraling. Why is she spiraling? It's an opportunity to ask yourself, a little bit deeper questions because things are going to start to get triggered. Things are not going to go your way. And that is where choice comes in of how do I react to this? How do I heal myself? How do I take care of myself so that that person can then, after this is kind of over, I can start to work with her and really start realizing if I do get triggered outside of this, oh, it's her. I need to spend a little bit more time with them in that sense. So I wanted to kind of like break down 3-4 different levels of working with Mercury retrograde. Level one, just use it as a time to clean house. Very simple. Maybe you literally clean your house. Maybe you do like a spring cleaning. Clean your phone, back up your camera of photos, back up your files on your computer. Go through all of your social media, who you follow, and ask yourself, is this person bringing me joy in my feed? What about your mental health is there a pile in the corner that you haven't really organized or cleaned? Or is there a project that you're like, oh, I'll get to the closet. Use this as a time to actively do that. So it's almost like I've been waiting for a time to do it now. The time is now to do it. Because anytime you move any form of energy, you're opening up new energy to come in. And it's literally as simple as, I haven't cleaned the photos out on my phone for 6 months, maybe more. And I know I have about 5,000. How many screenshots do I have? Let's just start there. Just start with your screenshots folder. Let's do baby steps. Then do your duplicates. Then maybe do your videos. If there's anything that you want to keep, sometimes I'll do kind of like in years, I'll like move it into a drive and move that year to a drive on the cloud so that I have access to it if I need it, but it's not like on my phone. I've also bought like a USB that you can buy that can plug into your phone and you can back up your phone. That's a thing to do during this time as well. And you also want to kind of like take notes. Just observe. If something triggers you, write it down. This is like a level 1 data collection. We're just collecting data. Someone cut me off on the road. That pissed me off. I'm just going to make a note of it. You're just going to use this as level 1, a time to notice things. Because part of that kind of like building the foundation within your self-love journey is noticing. Noticing equals self-awareness. And the more that you take time to notice your behaviors and notice what triggers you, the more you're going to be able to face them. It might not be, I'm not saying level 1 is facing them. You're just collecting data. That's like level 2, okay? So like level 1 and this part is just you kind of noticing behaviors and what's triggering you about them. And then if you want to, you can acknowledge the behavior and then make a choice. How do I want to react? Because kind of we were talking about in the last episode of like self-love, defining self-love is authority of your life. So you have the free will to decide, how do I want to act? Not how did I used to act? You can definitely take note of that. But how do I want to act now? That's the pivot point. That's why it's reversed. That's why it's going retrograde backwards, because it's giving you an opportunity to review your choice and you can like DJ spin it and go the other way if you want to. It's just a moment of pause. A troll on the bridge. Do you want to pay the fare or do you want to go a different way? It's just a choice in what's going on in your life and a time to review that. But level 1 is just the observer and maybe the cleaner. You kind of want to clean some form of energy to receive new energy, because we always want to make room for new energy, new opportunities, right? So that's level 1, okay? Level 2, Mercury will always be in retrograde in a sign, in a zodiac sign. So whatever zodiac sign, right now, Mercury's in retrograde in Leo. So wherever the planet is in the constellation like zone, it's spinning backwards in that section in the sky. And so it amplifies using the element. Leo is a fire sign, so it's going to amplify a lot of creativity, a lot of passion, a lot of inspiration, a lot of motivation. It can be a little air and fire since Mercury's an air planet. It can ignite the fire in a positive and also potentially negative way. And so a lot of friction can come when you think of fire. Like, obviously fire and air together as elements need each other, but sometimes it can amplify and make things worse. And so you just want to pay attention to how the two elements are kind of working around you to kind of feel out how that might come up for you during this time. So level 2 can be, I'm doing everything from level 1. I'm cleaning things out. I'm taking notes. But now level 2 is I want to kind of apply that, right? So you can either baby level 2, like a little bit of an upgrade. Let's just work with the element of fire. What is a creative passion that I have? Like, it's not necessarily a time to like start a new project, but really kind of like ask yourself, what about my process in this project that I'm trying to do isn't quite working for me? So maybe you're writing a book and the outline-based format that you've had is not sort of like working for this other project that you're doing. Mercury retrograde is a perfect time to be like, maybe it's my process. So it's an opportunity to play with creative fire and figure out what you can change in your process to move the project forward, if that makes sense. The element that Mercury is retrograding in usually helps teach you something as well. And so maybe asking yourself, like, what is my relationship with fire as an element itself? Am I afraid of fire? When I think of fire, do I feel warmth? Do I feel destruction? Do I feel light? And use that as like a exercise of how can I tap into either embodying the element a little bit more or using it as a way to heal your relationship with it if fire feels like I don't want to touch it, that sort of thing. And then if you want to add another layer to it, it's adding the zodiac itself. So Leo, for example, during this Mercury retrograde, it's in Leo, which to me is very bold. It's very wants to be seen, not afraid to be seen. And so everybody has every single zodiac in their chart. It's just a matter of where it is in your chart. Sometimes it's in a planet, sometimes it's not. And so when you're kind of like working with the zodiac, you want to just kind of figure out, how can I be more like a Leo? Or what are the traits or characteristics that Leo has that I might be kind of like, oh, I don't know, that doesn't feel like me. Or like, I actually miss that part of myself. I want to be more confident. How can I be more confident? So you gather the data of that missing element, fire, and then you kind of use the characteristic of the zodiac to bring that back to life as a self-love tool blueprint for you to kind of activate that healing. Again, you're going back, you're pulling in, and you're like, what do I miss? What do I like about myself? What do I miss about myself? And how can the element and the zodiac help me kind of like get that back? And so it's like giving you sort of like a blueprint to figure out where you can find yourself again and where you can heal yourself in that section, and tying it back to the data that you found about triggering, about what was missing in level 1. And then level 3 is a little bit more advanced, okay? But that's why there's different levels. And it happens 4 times a year. So you can increase, okay, level 1, Mercury retrograde, I'm starting now, I'm going to do level 1. Then the next one, I'm going to go to level 2. And then, so it's fine. You don't have to like do all of it at once. That's not the point of this, okay? So level 3 would be finding where specifically that zodiac, where Mercury retrograde is during the time that it's happening, where that is in your actual chart. So again, the birth chart itself is divided into 12 houses, and each house represents a different area of your life, which again is a great tool for self-growth, for self-awareness, to figure out even if it's just like, what are different areas of my life that I can like attribute some sort of archetype or label to, that already exists as a blueprint, the birth chart, the natal chart. And so using the birth chart specifically to find, okay, Mercury is retrograde in Leo. Where is Leo in my chart? The 9th house. Okay. And then finding the themes of that house and being like, oh, okay, this Mercury retrograde, it's really going to be, I'm going to focus on cleaning this specific room of my life, which would be the slice of the pie of that birth chart house where the zodiac is like saying, hey, I'm going to be here for like 3-4 weeks, just so you know. Might just kind of like tear stuff down and trigger you here. That's kind of like the energy that comes in when that happens. So I kind of categorize level 3 as like very niche mode. You want to focus specifically on it. And you might find that you might not realize that that was happening. And then you'll go back and then be like, wait, that was what was amplified for me in that specific theme of my life during that retrograde period, which can serve as kind of like, you can use level 3 as like, I want to figure out how to prepare myself, but then also kind of as a go back and see how it happened so you can learn. So it depends. Like if you want to use it as like a blueprint, it's there for you. If you want to use it as a really cool way to like, well, no wonder that happened. And like, if you learn more by actually doing and then going back, that's another way that you can kind of approach it. And I'll drop this in the description as well. I use the Chani app, which is tied to the book that I recommended at the beginning. And she also has a specific podcast episode that she has a weekly podcast that I also recommend. And she did a episode recently that I'll also drop in the description, kind of talking about Mercury retrograde, this specific period and what might come up. And so if you want to dive a little bit deeper from like an astrologist point of view, I'll leave that in the description below. But these sort of levels can sort of help you identify trigger points and then try to find versions of you, past versions of you that have been triggered by trauma, or just archetype versions of you that might need a little bit more tender loving care. And that's how you start to heal yourself. And that is part of the self-love journey, is making sure everybody's good so we can keep moving forward. And because I associate Mercury with Gemini and Gemini as the lovers, it really is an opportunity of choice. So how do I want to choose what room to clean in my house, what element to heal or explore my relationship with, and just kind of choose whether or not I want to clean out old energy that doesn't serve me anymore. So it's an opportunity for you to have a choice to move energy, clean energy, revise things, processes that no longer work for you, and practice sort of being present and patient when things don't go your way. It kind of just reminds us that like, yes, we have free will, but also in life, there are detours and side quests, and that is part of the journey. And figuring out how we approach those things will help us understand each other better and thus love each other more, love ourselves more. And then if you want to get into like, I do have like a level 4. If you really, or you're like, okay, I'm overachiever, I got this down. Level 4, I call the shadow period level. So Mercury oftentimes will go into shadow, meaning it's about to go in reverse. The train's about to go in reverse for a period of time at the beginning and a period of time at the end. And I call the pre-shadow period the prologue, and the end shadow period the epilogue. What do I mean by that? Throughout my life, I have learned that the shadow period actually affects me more than the actual retrograde itself, because it introduces, I've started to notice, the themes that might kind of arise. Maybe someone from my past will show up and I'll be like, I have not seen that boss in 5 years. Oh, career. Got it. Themes around career and how I approach it. Cool. It's like noticing signs from the universe, but in very triggering ways. It's not like a butterfly sign. It's like, why the hell did this person call me? And instead of just being like, I don't know, Oh, relationships. It's going to really trigger relationships. Got it. I use it as like a predecessor of the blueprint to help me activate it and like work with it in that way. And then the epilogue is sort of like, it's the final countdown push. So like anything that in my experience, anything that I have avoided or kind of was like, I just don't want to deal with it. It gives me one last really big push to be like, clear this room out now. And I either have to act or passively decide I don't really want to deal with it. And that's okay, because that's choice. That's the whole point. And if I decide I don't want to have to deal with it, it'll come back again in a way for me to deal with it later when it needs to be dealt with. Maybe I just need a little bit more time to heal this. Maybe I need a little bit more life experience to be able to really heal this part that keeps trying to knock. And that's okay. We're not trying to heal everything during one Mercury retrograde period. We're just noticing what's coming up so that we can gather data of like, who needs my attention so I can focus on it and choose to love that version of me more so then I can love myself more. That's how you integrate it into your self-love journey as a tool. And then sometimes the epilogue in the shadow period is great. Like it's a happy ending, happily ever after. It's like the end credits and you're just like, that was such a great movie. I did so good this retrograde. And you just like pat yourself on the back. Go get yourself a sweet treat. Go celebrate and reflect and be like, I did good. I cleaned house. I didn't respond to that message because it no longer served me. Whatever it is that you accomplished, it's a time to like kind of enjoy that and reflect on it. And like I always do, I'm going to pull a card. And because this is a little bit more into like, we're not going to do oracle card. We're going to do a tarot card, okay? I want to pull a card to just kind of like guide us. I want to guide us in what do we need to know to help us during retrograde universe. That's all I want. I just want a little bit of help as a message. Talk about communication. Oh, okay. So come on. If it's not the archetype of fire itself, we got the Ace of Wands at the bottom and the King of Wands that flew out. So is this not Leo? This is Leo. So I think the message is, I associate Ace of Wands with like brand new idea, very focused in on, again, mental focus, communication. This card is like, there's a fire in, it might be saying to help guide us. The sort of air quality that needs to clear house this retrograde for you is what's happening in your mind. So what are false beliefs or old systems that you have doubted yourself about that might need to kind of like let go so that new creativity, new inspiration, new motivation can help build new programming in your mind and really ignite that creative fire that's coming in with this Leo fire energy for you. And the King of Wands, the King is sort of like the embodiment of the element, okay? So like, well, the Queen is the embodiment, the King, well, maybe it's related. Nothing that I say is not related. So maybe you've been embodying your creativity. And now retrograde is asking you to really believe that you've mastered it. Obviously, we always have stuff to learn, right? But what it's saying is that it's kind of like Leo's behind you, the lion's behind you being like, watch yourself. You hold the torch. You hold the creativity. Embodying into mastery and knowing that you know how to do this. You know how to be creative. You know how to be inspirational. Now it's just a term of belief. So I think it has to do with deconstructing the idea that you don't believe that you can be a master of fire, of creativity, of inspiration, of this element, that it's asking you to kind of like go back and say, what is my relationship with fire? What is my relationship with my creativity? And do I have any false beliefs around that? So we're really strong in the fire here. I'm going to put a link to this wonderful, wonderful deck that I love to use called the Light Seers deck. You can see how much I've used this deck. And also the two descriptions for those two cards, because I really love how the creator of this deck describes them, but I did not mean for this to go this long, but there was just so much to say. I just had so much fire in me, as I always do. A triple fire sign, can't help myself. So I hope that was helpful. I don't know, we're trying something new. And that was self-love tool episode on Mercury Retrograde. So I hope you give yourself the opportunity to kind of like really dive in to see what could be the mental blockage that you have around believing your power, believing in your creativity, and really focusing on it in a new way and finding a new way to love yourself and a lovely life worth living. And that's the episode. I hope you're inspired to love yourself a little more than you did yesterday, and you're on your way to finding a lovely life you love. If you want to read more about my self love journey, head over to findalovelylife.com. Subscribe, rate, and share this podcast if you feel called to. Remember that your self love journey can start or restart at any point. There are no rules. Stay connected with us on social at Find a Lovely Life, or if you want to see more of Monica Life, you can find me at Lovely Monica, and that's spelled LOVELEEMONICAA. I'll say goodbye for now. Thanks for listening. Until next time.